My wife destroyed 3 years of marriage in a single afternoon. My name is Daniel Morrison and I'm 34 years old. I thought I'd built something solid. A good marriage, a stable life, the kind of partnership that actually meant something. Then I came home early from work on a Tuesday and found Charmaine in our bed with Damien Whitmore. The betrayal was bad enough. But what she said during our confrontation, the racist garbage about how black men are better, the way she mocked everything I was, everything we'd built together, that's what broke something inside me. My jaw clenched as pure rage replaced the shock. I didn't crumble. I chose cold, calculated action. I decided right then that Charmaine and Damien would face real consequences for what they'd done, not just divorce, real justice. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely, you'll understand what I did next. But let me start from the beginning. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. Nelson Adamson sent everyone home around 2:30 p.m. The servers had crashed hard and there was nothing any of us could do until the IT team got them back online. I remember Nelson standing by the elevators, telling everyone to take the rest of the day off, that we'd earned it after the brutal sprint we'd just finished. I figured I'd surprise Charmaine with takeout from that Thai place she loved, the one on Merchant Street that made the pad see you exactly how she liked it. We'd been married 3 years, together for 5 total, and yeah, things had been a little distant lately. She'd been spending more time at the gym, coming home late from her marketing job, constantly on her phone. But I chalked it up to work stress. Everyone goes through phases, right? I walked into our apartment at 4 p.m. with the takeout bag in hand, keys jangling as I pushed the door open. Then I heard sounds from the bedroom. Not just any sounds. Specific sounds that made my stomach drop and my blood run cold. I pushed open the bedroom door. Charmaine was in our bed, with some guy I'd never seen before. Tall, muscular, probably mid-30s. They scrambled apart like teenagers caught by their parents. He grabbed his clothes and started pulling them on while Charmaine just sat there, sheet pulled up to her chest, her face cycling through shock, then defiance, then something that almost looked like relief. "Daniel," she said, "I didn't expect you home." Clearly. I dropped the takeout bag. The plastic containers hit the floor with a dull thud. "Who the hell is this?" The guy looked at Charmaine, then at me. "Man, I'm sorry. I didn't know she was married." "Get out," I said, my voice deadly calm. "Now." He didn't need to be told twice, grabbed his shoes and practically ran out of the apartment. The front door slammed behind him, and the sound echoed in the sudden silence. I turned back to Charmaine. "How long?" She pulled on a robe, and I watched her face transform. The guilt disappeared. Instead, this cold, contemptuous look took over, like I just asked the stupidest question in the world. 6 months, she said. 6 months. The words felt like a punch to the gut. 6 fucking months and you couldn't even have the decency to tell me? To end things before... Before what, Daniel? She cut me off, her voice sharp as broken glass. Before I found someone who actually satisfies me? Someone who makes me feel alive? We're married, Charmaine. You made vows. She laughed. Actually laughed. Vows. God, you're so naive. You think I want to spend the rest of my life with someone like you? You're boring. You're predictable. You come home at the same time every day, you eat the same food, you want the same position every time when we used to have sex, which was maybe once a month because I could barely stand it. The cruelty in her voice was shocking. This wasn't the woman I married, or maybe it was, and I'd just been too blind to see it. "I gave you everything," I said, my voice rising. "I supported your career. I did everything you asked. You were adequate," she interrupted. "That's the best I can say about you. Adequate. But Damien? Damien is incredible. He's confident. He's passionate. He knows how to treat a woman. And honestly, black men are just better. Better in bed. Better at making me feel wanted. Better at everything that matters." The racist edge to her words hit me like a physical blow. My hands clenched into fists at my sides. "I want a divorce," she continued. "I'm done pretending. I'm done settling for mediocrity." I stared at her, feeling rage build in my chest like a pressure cooker about to explode. She thought I was weak. She thought I'd just roll over and let her destroy everything we built without consequences. That's when something clicked in my mind. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Say that again. The part about Damen. Her eyes widened. What are you? Say it. On camera. Tell me again about how you've been cheating on me for 6 months and why. She tried to grab my phone, but I pulled it away. Delete that. No, this is evidence. For the divorce proceedings. For the lawyers. For everyone who needs to know exactly who Charmaine Morrison really is. You wouldn't dare. Watch me. I kept the camera steady on her face. Now get out of my bedroom. You can sleep on the couch or leave entirely, I don't care which. She stood there, fury and something like fear crossing her face. This is my apartment too. Actually, it's in my name. The lease, the furniture, everything. You wanted to throw away our marriage? Fine. But you're not taking anything with you that you didn't bring in. I met her eyes. And honey, you didn't bring much. I watched her face crumble as she realized I wasn't the pushover she thought I was. She grabbed some clothes from the dresser and stormed out of the bedroom. 5 minutes later, the front door slammed hard enough to rattle the walls. I stood there in the silence of my apartment, still holding my phone with that recording safely stored. My hands were shaking. Not from fear or sadness, but from pure rage that I was keeping barely contained. You ever have someone destroy your entire world in the space of 10 minutes? That's what Charmaine had just done. But here's the thing. She thought I'd just accept it. Thought I'd cry and beg and let her walk all over me on her way out the door. She had no idea what was coming. That night I sat down at my computer. The apartment felt too quiet, too empty. And I kept seeing flashes of what I'd walked in on. But I pushed those images away and focused on what mattered now. Evidence. If Charmaine had been cheating for 6 months, there would be a trail. People always leave trails. They think they're being careful, but they're not. Not really. I started with our phone records. We had a shared plan, which meant I had access to all the billing details. I pulled up the last 6 months and started scanning through Charmaine's call and text logs. There it was. One number appeared over and over again. Thousands of text messages, calls that lasted hours, all at times when I'd been at work or thought she was working late. I wrote down the number and kept digging. Credit card statements next. We had joint accounts for household expenses, and Charmaine used that card constantly. I went through every charge from the past 6 months, cross-referencing dates with my own calendar. Hotel charges. The Riverside Inn on March 15th, the Madison Hotel on April 3rd, the Grand Plaza on May 8th. All dates when she'd told me she was working late on a big marketing campaign. Restaurant bills, expensive ones. The kind of places I'd suggested we go for our anniversary, and she'd said we couldn't afford. My jaw clenched tighter with every new piece of evidence. I remembered our anniversary from 2 months ago. I'd wanted to take her somewhere nice, make it special. She'd said we needed to save money, that things were tight. And the whole time, she'd been spending our money on hotel rooms with Damen. Then I did something I'm not proud of, but I don't regret it either. I grabbed Charmaine's laptop from the living room. She'd left it behind in her rush to get out. The password screen came up. I typed in the password I'd set up for her 3 years ago when I'd built her computer from scratch. She'd promised she'd change it to something personal, something that meant something to her. She never had. The laptop unlocked. Her email was still logged in. I opened it and started reading. What I found made my blood boil even hotter. Emails to her friends, women I'd met at parties, had dinner with, thought were decent people, bragging about her affair, describing Damen in graphic detail, laughing about how clueless I was, messages to Damen planning their future together, talking about leaving me, about starting fresh, about how much better their life would be without their boring spouses holding them back. That's when I saw it. An email from Damen with an automatic signature at the bottom. Damen Whitmore, Senior Account Manager, Hartley and Associates. I copied his name and opened Facebook. Damen Whitmore's profile was semi-public, and there, right on his page, were photos that made everything clear. Him with a woman, Anjali according to the tags. Him with 2 kids, a boy and a girl, maybe 5 and 7 years old. Posts about their family vacations. Their 7th wedding anniversary celebration from 8 months ago. He was married, had been for 7 years, had kids. I didn't know she was married. That's what he'd said when I walked in on them. What a load of garbage. He'd known exactly what he was doing. He was just as much of a liar as Charmaine, destroying his own family for an affair. I took screenshots, his profile, his family photos, the posts about his anniversary. Then I went back to Charmaine's emails and started taking screenshots of everything. Every message to her friends, every plan she'd made with Damen, every receipt, every hotel confirmation, every piece of evidence that proved what she'd done. I created folders on my desktop, organized everything by date, text message logs in one folder, credit card statements in another, emails in a third. The video I'd recorded earlier went into a folder labeled Direct Confession. By 2 in the morning, I had an airtight case, timestamps, locations, financial proof, digital conversations, video evidence. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Charmaine's contemptuous face telling me I was mediocre. Heard her saying black men were better. Felt the weight of her betrayal crushing down on me. But by the time dawn broke through the bedroom window, my anger had crystallized into something cold and focused. Charmaine and Damen thought they could destroy their marriages without consequences. They were wrong. I picked up my phone and opened a search for divorce attorneys in the city. Not just any attorney. I needed the most ruthless one I could find. The next morning, I sat in the downtown office of Riza Jensen, waiting for her to finish reviewing the evidence spread across her mahogany desk. Riza had a reputation. Everyone who'd been through a messy divorce in this city knew her name. She was expensive. The consultation alone cost $500, but she was worth every penny if you wanted someone who'd fight without mercy. She was probably in her late 40s, sharp-featured with steel-gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Everything about her screamed efficiency and control. She clicked through the video I'd recorded of Charmaine's confession, her expression neutral. Then she opened the folder of screenshots, the texts, the emails, the credit card statements. Her eyes moved rapidly across each document. Finally, she looked up at me. Her eyes were practically glowing. "This is a slam dunk," she said. "Adultery is still grounds for an at-fault divorce in this state. With this evidence, especially the video confession, she won't get a penny of alimony, and we can make sure any joint assets are divided heavily in your favor." "Good." I leaned forward. "But I want more than that." Riza raised an eyebrow. "More? I want her to understand that actions have consequences. Real consequences. I want her to feel what she did to me." A slow smile spread across Riza's face. "I think we can arrange that. This kind of documented infidelity gives us significant leverage. We can pursue fault-based grounds aggressively, request she cover court costs, and ensure the settlement terms reflect the severity of her betrayal. How soon can we file?" "I can have the papers ready by end of day. We'll file tomorrow morning." "Do it." Riza extended her hand. "Welcome aboard, Mr. Morrison. Your wife just made the biggest mistake of her life." I shook her hand, feeling something like satisfaction settle in my chest. Yes, she did. I left Riza's office around 11, walked down 3 blocks to a coffee shop and ordered something strong and black. Sitting at a corner table, I pulled out my phone and opened Facebook again. Angelie Whitmore's profile wasn't completely public, but her basic information was visible. Married to Damen Whitmore, 2 children, lived in the same city. There was a message option. I stared at it for a long moment. What I was about to do would destroy another family. 2 kids would watch their parents' marriage fall apart because I decided to tell the truth. But those kids deserved to know who their father really was. And Angelie deserved to know what kind of man she'd married. I clicked the message button and typed, "My name is Daniel Morrison. I need to talk to you about your husband, Damen. It's urgent. Please call me." I added my phone number and hit send. Then I waited. An hour later, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Who is this?" A woman's voice, cautious, worried. "Mrs. Whitmore?" "Yes. You sent me a message about my husband?" I took a breath. Mrs. Whitmore, I'm sorry to contact you like this, but I have information about your husband that you need to know. He's been having an affair with my wife for the past 6 months. Silence on the other end. Complete silence. Then, what? I have proof. Texts, emails, hotel receipts. I caught them together in my apartment yesterday. I can send you everything if you want to see it. Send it. Her voice had gone cold, hard. Send me everything. I will, right now. I hung up and immediately started forwarding everything. Screenshots of the text messages between Charmaine and Damen, copies of the credit card statements showing hotel charges, the emails where they planned their future together, even the video of Charmaine confessing to the affair and praising Damen. I hit send on the last file and waited. My coffee had gone cold. I ordered another one. 20 minutes later, my phone rang again. Anjali Whitmore. Mrs. Whitmore, thank you for telling me. Her voice was tight, controlled. I need to go. In the background, I heard shouting. A man's voice, Damen, yelling something I couldn't make out clearly. Then Anjali's voice, louder, angrier. Don't you dare lie to me right now. The line went dead. I sat there in the coffee shop, phone still in my hand, and pictured what was happening in the Whitmore household at that exact moment. Damen was facing his own reckoning, just like Charmaine would face hers, and I'd made sure of it. Over the next 3 days, my phone didn't stop ringing. Charmaine called 17 times the first day alone. I didn't answer a single call. Let everyone go to voicemail. And the messages she left got progressively more desperate. Daniel, pick up. We need to talk about this. Daniel, you can't just lock me out of my own home. Daniel, please. I need to get my things. I deleted each message without listening all the way through. On day 2, Riza called with good news. I filed the divorce papers this morning. The court granted our request for a temporary order giving you exclusive use of the marital residence during proceedings. That was fast. I told you, this is a slam dunk. The judge took one look at the evidence and signed immediately. You have legal grounds to change the locks now. I'll do it this afternoon. I called a locksmith. Guy showed up within 2 hours. Replaced both the door lock and the deadbolt. Cost me $200 but worth every penny. That evening, around 7, someone started pounding on my apartment door. Daniel, open this door right now. Charmaine. I walked to the door and looked through the security peephole. She stood in the hallway, hair disheveled, mascara smeared like she'd been crying. She pounded again. I know you're in there. Open the damn door. I pulled out my phone and started recording through the peephole. The video quality wasn't great, but it captured audio perfectly. You can't lock me out, she was screaming now. This is my apartment too. You hear me? Mine. I said nothing, just kept filming. Daniel Morrison, you open this door right now or I swear to God. Ma'am. A male voice. Gerald Harrison, the building's doorman. Ma'am, you need to leave. I live here. The tenant has filed a court order barring you from the premises. I've been notified by building management. You need to leave now or I'm calling the police. He's my husband. Ma'am, I'm asking you nicely. Please leave. Charmaine let out this sound, half sob, half scream, and I watched through the peephole as she finally turned away. Gerald walked her toward the elevator, his hand hovering near her elbow without quite touching. The hallway went quiet. I stopped recording and backed away from the door. She came back the next evening. I was heating up leftover Chinese food when my phone buzzed. Text from Gerald. FYI, your ex-wife just tried to come up. Turned her away at the lobby. She's gone now. I texted back. Thanks, Gerald. I appreciate it. No problem. That's what I'm here for. I sat down with my food and tried to eat, but my appetite had disappeared. Knowing Charmaine was out there, trying to force her way back into my life, made my stomach turn. 2 days later, Riza called with an update. Your wife hired an attorney, guy named Greg Sanders. Never heard of him. That's because he graduated law school about 6 months ago. Works out of a strip mall office and advertises on bus benches. She clearly couldn't afford anyone with actual experience. Good. Riza laughed. Good is right. I could demolish this case in my sleep. Sanders is going to crumble the second we present evidence. When's mediation scheduled? 3 weeks from today. I'll send you the formal notice this afternoon. And you're confident we'll win? Daniel, I'm confident we'll destroy her. She has no leverage, no case, and a lawyer who probably still thinks law school hypotheticals apply to real courtroom strategy. By the time I'm done, she won't get a penny. That same week, I started hearing things through mutual friends. Sarah Lindstrom, who worked with Charmaine at her marketing firm, called me out of the blue. Daniel, I heard what happened. I'm so sorry. Thanks, Sarah. Look, I don't want to gossip, but I thought you should know. Damien's marriage exploded. Angelique confronted him the same night you sent her that evidence. She moved out with the kids that same night, filed for divorce the next morning. Really? Yeah. And from what I heard through the grapevine, she's going for his throat. Full custody, the house, everything. He's completely screwed. I felt that grim satisfaction again. Good. He deserves it. Charmaine's been trying to contact him, but he won't answer her calls. Blocked her number, apparently. She must be losing her mind. She is. Trust me. The formal mediation notice arrived by mail 3 days later. Thick envelope with court letterhead. I called Riza immediately. I got the notice. Good. Mark your calendar. 3 weeks from today, 9 a.m. courthouse downtown. Bring copies of all evidence we discussed. I'll have my set, but redundancy never hurts. What should I expect? Expect her lawyer to make unreasonable demands. Expect Charmaine to cry and play victim. Expect us to shut down every single argument with cold, hard facts. Riza's voice carried absolute confidence. This mediation will destroy any leverage she thinks she has. By the end of it, she'll realize she has no cards left to play. I'm ready. I know you are. See you in 3 weeks. I hung up and looked at the notice again. 3 weeks until Charmaine faced real consequences. I could wait that long. 3 weeks later, I walked into the courthouse mediation room with Riza beside me, her briefcase heavy with evidence. Charmaine sat across the table with Greg Sanders. She looked worse than I'd ever seen her. Thinner, paler, dark circles under her eyes like she hadn't slept in days. She glanced at me when I entered, and I saw something desperate in that look. Pleading almost. I looked away. The mediator, a tired-looking woman named Patricia Holbrook, settled into her chair and opened the file. Let's begin. Mr. Sanders, please present your client's position. Greg cleared his throat. Kid looked nervous. Yes, Your Honor. I'm not a judge, Mr. Sanders, just a court-appointed mediator. Right, sorry. He shuffled papers. My client, Mrs. Morrison, is seeking a fair division of marital assets accumulated during the 3-year marriage. Specifically, Mrs. Morrison requests half of all retirement accounts, half the value of both vehicles, and spousal support for 3 years while she gets back on her feet financially. Riza didn't even wait for him to finish. Absolutely not. Patricia looked at her. Ms. Jensen? My client is willing to allow Mrs. Morrison to keep her personal belongings and her vehicle. Nothing else. No retirement funds, no spousal support, nothing. And we're requesting she pay half of all court costs. Greg blinked. That's unreasonable. Mrs. Morrison contributed to this marriage for 3 years and Mrs. Morrison deserves exactly what she earned through her infidelity. Riza opened her briefcase and pulled out a tablet. Which is nothing. She slid the tablet across to Patricia. I have video evidence, recorded by my client on the day he discovered his wife's adultery. In this video, Mrs. Morrison admits to conducting a 6-month affair. She also makes several derogatory statements about my client, including calling him boring, mediocre, and, I quote, adequate at best. Patricia's eyebrows rose as she watched. I couldn't hear the audio from where I sat, but I saw Charmaine's face on the screen, saw her cruel expression, her dismissive gestures. Greg tried to interrupt. You're Ms. Holbrook, this video was recorded without my client's consent. In a one-party consent state, Riza cut in smoothly. Perfectly legal, and we have additional evidence. She pulled out financial statements. Bank records showing hotel charges and restaurant expenses on dates when Mrs. Morrison claimed to be working late. Credit card statements. Text message logs showing thousands of messages between Mrs. Morrison and her affair partner over 6 months. She laid each piece of evidence on the table like weapons. Furthermore, Riza continued, Mrs. Morrison actually earned more than my client during 2 of the 3 years of marriage. Year 1, she made $62,000 while he made $58,000. Year 2, she made $65,000 while he made $59,000. Only in year 3 did my client's income exceed hers, and only by $3,000. Patricia was reviewing the financial records now, her expression neutral but focused. Given Mrs. Morrison's documented infidelity, her higher earning capacity, and her own admission that she felt no respect for the marriage, she has no legal or moral right to any form of support. She destroyed this marriage deliberately. My client should not be required to subsidize her life after she betrayed him. Greg tried again weakly. Mrs. Morrison has lost her job and her apartment. She needs financial assistance to lost her job because she was harassing her affair partner at his workplace, Riza said coldly. Lost her apartment because she spent her savings on hotel rooms and gifts for a man who used her and threw her away. Those consequences are entirely self-inflicted. Charmaine's face went white. She looked at me again, those desperate eyes searching for something. Mercy, maybe. Forgiveness. I gave her nothing. Patricia spent the next 20 minutes reviewing everything. The video, the financial records, the text logs. She asked Greg a few questions, but his answers were fumbling, uncertain. The kid was drowning and he knew it. Finally, Patricia set down the last document. Based on the evidence presented, I'm siding with Mr. Morrison on virtually all contested points. Mrs. Morrison will retain her personal belongings and her vehicle. No division of retirement accounts. No spousal support. Both parties will split court costs equally. Greg started to protest, but Patricia held up her hand. Mr. Sanders, your client committed adultery for 6 months. She admitted to it on video. She earned equal or greater income during the marriage. There is no legal basis for spousal support. This is my recommendation to the court, and I'm confident a judge will agree. Charmaine's shoulders slumped. She looked like she might cry, but no tears came. Just this hollow, defeated expression. We stood. Riza gathered her evidence, methodical and professional. I followed her toward the door. Outside the courthouse, sunlight felt warm on my face. Riza shook my hand. Congratulations, Daniel. The final decree will be signed in 6 to 8 weeks. You're almost free. I nodded, feeling something like triumph settle in my chest. Almost free. And Charmaine had nothing left. 2 months into the divorce process, my phone rang while I was reviewing code at my desk. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. Mr. Morrison? This is Anjali Whitmore. I sat up straighter. Mrs. Whitmore, how are you? Better than I expected, actually. Her voice was calm, controlled. I wanted to thank you for telling me the truth about my husband. I filed for divorce the day after you sent me that evidence. I'm glad I could help. How's that going? Very well. Turns out Damien's been cheating for years, not just with your wife. I hired a private investigator after our conversation, and he found evidence of at least 3 other affairs. One was with a woman from his gym, another with someone from his office, and one with a client from his business. I felt grim satisfaction hearing that. So he's a serial cheater. Exactly. My attorney is making sure he pays for every single one. He's losing the house, a major portion of his business assets, and I'm getting primary custody of both kids. The judge wasn't sympathetic when we showed all the evidence. Good. He deserves it. There's something else, Anjali continued, and I heard something like amusement in her voice. Your wife has been trying to contact him constantly, calling, texting, showing up at his new apartment at all hours. I nearly laughed. Seriously? Seriously. He filed a restraining order against her last week. From what I heard through mutual friends, she actually believed he'd leave me for her once everything came out. That they'd ride off into the sunset together or something. And what did he tell her? That she was just a distraction, that she meant nothing to him. He used her exact words, apparently, said she was convenient, and that's all. The irony was perfect. Beautiful, even. Charmaine had thrown away our marriage for a man who'd used her like a disposable toy. Thank you for telling me, I said. It's good to know karma's working overtime. After we hung up, I sat there thinking about how far things had fallen apart for both of them. Charmaine desperate and alone. Damien losing everything he'd built. Meanwhile, my life was actually getting better. I'd met Carmina Parker at the gym about 4 months before everything exploded. She was a physical therapist, always friendly, with this laugh that made everyone around her smile. We'd chatted during workouts, nothing serious, just gym talk. After my separation became common knowledge, she'd reached out. "Divorce is hell," she'd said over coffee one Saturday morning. "I went through one myself 2 years ago. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here." We started meeting regularly. Just coffee at first, sometimes lunch. She made me laugh again, made me feel like maybe I wasn't completely broken. She'd been through her own betrayal, understood what it felt like when someone you trusted destroyed everything. Our friendship shifted gradually. Started feeling like something more than just two people commiserated about failed marriages. 3 months after I'd caught Charmaine, I asked Carmina on an actual date. We went to Marcello's, this upscale Italian place downtown with white tablecloths and candles on every table. The kind of restaurant Charmaine would have complained was too fancy or too boring. Carmina wore a simple blue dress and smiled at me across the table like I was the only person in the room. "This is really nice," she said. "I haven't been here in years." "Me neither. Figured we deserved something special." We talked about everything. Her work helping people recover from injuries. My promotion at work. Nelson had been impressed by how I'd handled the personal crisis while still delivering results. We talked about our pasts, our mistakes, what we wanted from life moving forward. After dinner, we walked along the waterfront. Late spring evening, warm breeze coming off the water, city lights reflecting on the surface. I remembered the first time Charmaine and I had walked here, years ago when we were still dating. How different that felt compared to this. Carmina stopped near a bench and turned to face me. "I really like you, Daniel," she said softly. "But I want to make sure you're ready for this. I don't want to be a rebound." I looked at her, really looked at her. The kindness in her eyes, the genuine concern. "You're not," I said. What I had with Charmaine was over long before I caught her cheating. I just didn't want to admit it to myself. But this? You? This feels real. She smiled, then stepped closer and kissed me. For the first time in months, I felt genuinely happy. 3.5 months after I'd caught Charmaine, I was at Carmina's apartment when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Daniel, it's me." "Charmaine." My stomach dropped. I felt Carmina's questioning look from across the room. "What do you want?" "I need to talk to you." "Please, can we meet?" "Absolutely not. We have nothing to discuss. Our divorce is almost final and I made a mistake." Her voice cracked. "A terrible mistake. I want to come home." I felt Carmina's hand on my shoulder, supportive. "You don't have a home with me anymore, Charmaine. Please, just hear me out." She was crying now, really sobbing. "I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But I've had time to think, and I realize now that I threw away the best thing in my life. I was stupid and selfish, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix what you did. I know. But I love you, Daniel. I always have." What I said that day, I was just angry and confused. I didn't mean any of it. The desperation in her voice was almost pathetic, almost made me feel something like pity. But mostly I felt anger that she thought she could just waltz back into my life after destroying everything. "Where's Damien?" I asked coldly. Silence. Long, heavy silence. Then, "He doesn't want to see me anymore. He said I was a mistake." There it was. The real reason for this call. "And now you want to come crawling back to me because your affair partner dumped you. Do you have any idea how pathetic that is?" "Daniel, please." "No. Listen to me very carefully, Charmaine. You made your choice. You chose to cheat, to lie, to throw away our marriage. You told me I was boring and mediocre. You said black men were better. Remember that? Remember standing in our bedroom and telling me that? I didn't mean, you meant every word. And now you're facing the consequences. Damien used you and threw you away. You lost your job. How did you know? Because you couldn't stop harassing him at his workplace and they fired you for creating a hostile environment. You spent all your savings trying to impress a man who never cared about you. And now you're broke and desperate, so you think you can come back to me? No. We're done. The divorce will be final in 3 weeks. And after that, I never want to hear from you again. Please, she sobbed. I have nowhere else to go. I lost my apartment. I lost everything. I need help. That's not my problem anymore. You made your bed. Now lie in it. I hung up. Carmina squeezed my shoulder gently. Are you okay? I nodded slowly. Yeah, I am. For the first time in months, I actually am. Over the next 2 weeks, Charmaine wouldn't leave me alone. She called constantly. Different numbers every time, probably using those burner phone apps or borrowing phones from friends. Each voicemail was the same desperate script. Begging, apologizing, promising she'd change if I just gave her another chance, telling me she'd do anything, be anything I needed. I blocked every single number. The emails came next. Dozens of them. Subject lines like, please read this, and I'm so sorry, and Daniel, I love you. I didn't read a single one. Just set up a filter that sent everything from her address straight to spam. Then she tried showing up at my building. Gerald, the doorman, caught her trying to slip past the lobby while he was helping another resident with packages. He recognized her immediately from the previous incidents. Ma'am, you need to leave, I heard him say when he called me from the lobby phone. Mr. Morrison has made it clear you're not welcome here. I could hear Charmaine's voice in the background, high and desperate. I just need to talk to him for 5 minutes, please. 5 minutes. Ma'am, if you don't leave right now, I'm calling the police. She left. But Gerald told me she'd been sitting in her car across the street for 3 hours before that, just watching the entrance. You want me to call the cops if she comes back? He asked. Yes. And Gerald? She's permanently banned from this building. Don't let her pass the lobby for any reason. You got it, Mr. Morrison. The texts started coming from random numbers too, short, frantic messages. Daniel, please just talk to me. I made a mistake. I know I did. I love you. I always loved you. Please don't throw away everything we had. I blocked each number as they came in. Didn't respond to a single one. You ever watch someone spiral and feel absolutely nothing? That's where I was. Every desperate attempt she made just reminded me of how she'd looked at me in our bedroom that day. How she'd laughed when she called me boring. How she'd thrown those racist comments at me like I was nothing. She'd made her choices. Now she got to live with them. The divorce finalization hearing was on a Tuesday morning. I sat in the courtroom with Riza while Charmaine and Greg Sanders took seats across the aisle. The moment I saw her, I almost didn't recognize her. She'd lost weight, serious weight. Her clothes hung loose on her frame. Her hair looked like it hadn't been washed in days, pulled back in a messy ponytail. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, the kind you get from weeks of barely sleeping. She kept looking at me. These desperate, pleading glances like she was silently begging me to change my mind, call this whole thing off, tell the judge we'd worked it out. I didn't even acknowledge her. The judge, an older woman named Judge Patricia Holloway, reviewed the settlement agreement. Asked if both parties agreed to all terms. Greg confirmed weakly. Riza confirmed with confidence. This marriage is hereby dissolved, Judge Holloway said, signing the decree with a flourish. Good luck to both of you moving forward. That was it. 3 years of marriage ended with a signature and 10 words. I walked out of that courtroom feeling like someone had just cut chains off my ankles. Light, free, like I could actually breathe for the first time in months. Riza shook my hand in the hallway. Congratulations, Daniel. You're officially a free man. Thank you, I said, for everything you did, seriously. She smiled. My pleasure. Cases like yours are exactly why I went into divorce law. Sometimes justice actually wins. I glanced back through the courtroom doors. Charmaine was still sitting there, head in her hands, shoulders shaking. Greg was packing up his briefcase, looking uncomfortable. I felt nothing watching her cry. Not satisfaction, not pity, nothing. She'd burned that bridge herself. That evening, Carmina and I celebrated at her apartment with champagne. To new beginnings, she said, raising her glass. To new beginnings, I echoed, and we both drank. We'd been dating seriously for 2 months at this point, but it felt like so much longer. Like we'd known each other for years. She made me laugh, challenged me, supported me through hell without ever asking for anything in return. I love you, I said suddenly. The words surprised even me. But the moment they were out, I realized I meant them completely. Her eyes widened, then softened. That beautiful smile spread across her face. I love you too, Daniel. She kissed me, and for the first time since this nightmare started, I felt genuinely, completely happy. 3 months after the divorce finalized, I started hearing things through mutual friends. Charmaine had moved back in with her parents, not temporarily, permanently. They lived in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment on the south side of the city, and apparently she'd taken over their spare room that doubled as her dad's home office. Must have been a hell of an adjustment after living in our nice downtown place. She was working retail now. Department store clerk at some place in the mall, making maybe $12 an hour. Massive drop from the 60,000-year marketing position she'd had before. From what I heard, she'd been let go from her marketing firm not just for harassing Damien at his workplace, but because word got around about why she was harassing him. Nobody wanted that drama in their office. Her social media had completely disappeared. Instagram, Facebook, everything deleted. Too many people had called her out publicly once the truth came out. Mutual friends screenshot some of the comments before she nuked everything. Brutal stuff. Deserved, but brutal. Damien's life had imploded just as spectacularly. Angeli's divorce steamrolled him. She got their house, a beautiful 4-bedroom colonial in the suburbs that Damien had probably paid 2/3 of the mortgage on. She got primary custody of both kids, and her lawyer had torn apart his business finances and extracted a huge settlement plus ongoing alimony and child support. Last I heard, he was living in a studio apartment and working 2 jobs just to cover his monthly payments. One buddy told me Damien was doing IT work during the day and bartending 3 nights a week. 40-hour weeks turned into 70. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. My life, complete opposite trajectory. Nelson called me into his office about a month after the divorce finalized. I'd been worried. Thought maybe my performance had slipped during the chaos and he was going to issue some kind of warning. Instead, he offered me a promotion. You maintained excellent work through a personal crisis that would have destroyed most people, he said, leaning back in his chair. That shows character, Daniel. Leadership quality. I'm moving you to senior developer and doubling your project oversight. The raise was substantial. 20% increase plus bonuses tied to project completions. I shook his hand, thanked him, and walked out of his office feeling like everything was finally clicking into place. Carmina and I moved in together 6 months after the divorce wrapped up. Her lease was ending anyway, and we'd been spending almost every night together. Made sense to make it official. We talked about marriage sometimes. Late-night conversations where we'd sketch out what we wanted from life from each other, but neither of us felt rushed. We were happy just being together, building something real without the pressure of timelines or expectations. Exactly 1 year after I'd caught Charmaine in our bedroom, I ran into her at a grocery store. Completely random. I was shopping for dinner with Carmina. We'd planned to make homemade pasta, and we were picking through produce when I saw her near the tomatoes. She looked worse than she had at the divorce hearing. So much worse. She'd lost more weight. Her clothes were cheaper, ill-fitting. Her hair was pulled back in a limp ponytail. And there was this defeated slump to her shoulders, this heaviness in the way she moved, like she was carrying the weight of every mistake she'd ever made. She saw me at the same moment I saw her. Her eyes went wide. She took half a step forward, mouth opening like she was going to say something. Then she saw Carmina next to me, saw Carmina's hand in mine, saw how we were laughing about something stupid, how easy and natural we looked together. She stopped dead. I could have said something cruel, could have walked over and rubbed everything in her face, my promotion, my happiness, the fact that my life got infinitely better the moment she left it. But I realized I didn't need to. The look on her face said everything. She understood exactly what she'd lost. And she was living with that knowledge every single day, working her minimum wage job, sleeping in her parents' spare room, watching life move forward without her. I nodded politely. Nothing more. Then I walked past her without saying a word. Carmina squeezed my hand. Was that her? She asked quietly. Yeah. You okay? I smiled. Genuinely. Completely. More than okay. I'm perfect. 2 years after the divorce, my life is unrecognizable from what it was with Charmaine. Carmina and I got married last spring. We kept it small, close friends, immediate family, a ceremony in a little vineyard about an hour outside the city. Nothing fancy. Nothing that required months of planning or massive expense. Just the people who mattered, good wine, and vows we actually meant. I remember standing at that altar watching Carmina walk toward me and thinking, this is what it's supposed to feel like. No doubts, no second guessing, just certainty. She's pregnant now. 5 months along with our first child, a daughter we're planning to name Eliza. We bought a house together. 3 bedrooms, decent backyard, quiet neighborhood with good schools. The kind of place where I can already imagine teaching Eliza to ride a bike on the sidewalk out front. Pushing her on a swing set we'll install near the back fence. Normal, simple things that somehow mean everything. I stand in that backyard sometimes on weekend mornings with my coffee and just breathe, feel the sun, listen to the birds. Think about how close I came to never having any of this. Work's been incredible too. I got another promotion about 8 months after the last one. Nelson retired and recommended me for senior leadership. Now I manage a team of 12 developers. Good people, talented, the kind of team that makes my job easier instead of harder. The money's great. But honestly, that's not even the best part. The best part is waking up every morning genuinely excited about my life, my career, the projects I'm working on. Coming home to Carmina and talking about our days over dinner she cooked or I picked up or we made together. Everything feels right, like all the pieces finally fit. I hear about Charmaine occasionally. Mutual friends, social media whispers, that kind of thing. She's still living with her parents. Same cramped 2-bedroom apartment. Still working that retail job at the department store. Been there almost 2 years now with no sign of moving up or moving on. Still alone. Nobody posts pictures with her anymore. No tagged photos at parties or brunches. It's like she just faded, became invisible. And Damien? He moved to another state about a year ago. Somewhere in the Midwest, I think. Probably trying to escape Anjali's ongoing legal actions and the judgment of everyone who learned about his multiple affairs. Running from consequences that followed him anyway. Neither of them found the happiness they thought they'd get by destroying their marriages. Neither of them came out of this better. They gambled everything on something shallow and temporary, and they lost. Carmina asks me sometimes late at night when we're lying in bed, if I ever regret how things ended. If I wish I'd tried to work things out with Charmaine or found some way to forgive her. The answer's always no. Some betrayals are unforgivable. Some people show you exactly who they are in moments of crisis, and the only mistake you can make is not believing them. Charmaine showed me she was cruel, selfish, willing to destroy something good for temporary pleasure. She thought I was weak. Thought I'd just accept her back when her affair fell apart. She was wrong. I built something better without her. Something real, with someone who actually values me. Someone who treats me with respect and sees me as an equal partner, not a safety net or a backup plan. Every day I'm grateful she gave me the push I needed to find it. You ever wonder if karma's real? If people who do terrible things actually face consequences? I'm telling you, it is. They do. Sometimes karma doesn't need your help. Sometimes it works just fine on its own, grinding people down through the natural consequences of their choices. But when you can give it a little nudge in the right direction, when you can make sure people face real consequences instead of skating by, that's not revenge, that's justice. And there's nothing wrong with making sure justice gets served. Charmaine learned that the hard way. And honestly, I hope she never forgets it. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.